Hey y'all, Grandma Rose here. I am getting ready to prepare the yarn for dyeing. I'm getting ready to go to a harvest festival this morning. Starts at 8 o'clock, it lasts until 2, so I've got plenty of time to get there. But I thought while I was gone that I could actually have this yarn soaking in the alum water ready to dye it this afternoon. So I have my skein. This is the yarn that I balled up. Let me back this out a little so you can see it better. So there's the skein of yarn. That's how you wrap it. And then I'm getting ready to just soak it in some water, just plain water, until it's wet. You want it to be completely wet before you put it in the alum. So here we go. Undo it like that. And I've got it tied together in 4 places. So you see this different color yarn that I used is easier to see. But when I showed how you wrapped it together, well, this is easier to see what you're doing. So as you see, I did it in 4 places and it holds it together. So I'm going to put this in the water and just let it soak for a little while. Now I'm using my cooking pots. Now that's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? You think you're dyeing something and the dye is toxic. Well, this is natural. This is all natural, nothing poisonous at all. The dye that I'm using is not poisonous. This is just yarn and water. So as you see, I'm just squeezing the water through it, getting it very wet. Oops, and I squeezed a little bit out, but that's okay. So just let it soak there for a few minutes. And then I'm going to add the alum and cream of tartar to water and heat it up. So that's over here on this side. The recipe that I had for this, the instructions I had for this were for a pound of yarn. And it said you use a tablespoon of alum and a teaspoon of cream of tartar to a pound of yarn. Well, I have 2 ounces. And this is in 4 gallons of water. So 4 gallons of water to 16 ounces of yarn. That would be 4 ounces of yarn, which is 1/4 of a pound. Then you would use 1 gallon, which means 2 ounces, which is what I have, means I need a 1/2 gallon. So I already have a quart of water in here. I'm pouring another quart of the water in here, so that gives me a 1/2 gallon. Turn the heat on. Needs to be at a simmer. Alum from the grocery. Just alum. And cream of tartar. So 1/2 of a tablespoon. I need to go look at that recipe again. Okay, it says for sampling and experiments, it's better to have small batches. So to mordant 4 ounces of yarn, use these amounts. 1 tablespoon of alum per 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar. I have 2 ounces, so I'm going to half that. So 1/2 of a tablespoon is 1.5 teaspoons. So let me add 1.5 teaspoons of alum. Yeah, that's going to go in there. There's about a teaspoon, close enough. This isn't rocket science. 1.5 teaspoons. There's 1.5 teaspoons of alum. You need 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar. And we'll get a 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar. Let's do that. There we go. And put that in the water, let it come to a simmer, let it dissolve. Might as well use this to stir. Have to wash it anyway. It looks like that's dissolved. Already. It's already dissolved in there. Squeeze the water out of it. You don't want to change the volume of the water too much. Put this in here in this water. This is in the mordant, so I'm just dropping it down in there like so. And just be sure it's covered. this down in the water. Oops. See, this is why you tie it together. Did you see how that wrapped around there? So that's it. All I'm going to do now is soak this, let this come to a simmer, and I'm waiting for that to happen. And I'm going to just turn it down as far as it'll go, just so the fire doesn't go out under the pot. Low, low, low heat, and let it go until, sit for a couple of hours. And when I come back this afternoon, we'll dye the yarn, and that'll be fun. See the steam rising from the pot already. It won't be long, I can turn it down. Alright, y'all, I am back. So this is ready. Been sitting for a couple of hours, which is plenty of time. And I've turned the heat off. And now what I'm going to do, I need to reach over here in this drawer and get a second hot pad, because I'm sure this pan is going to be hot. And reach around, and I'm going to pour this water out. So there we go, lifting this up and coming around to the other side. Just going to dump it out in the sink. You see there's a strainer in the sink. So I'm just going to let that drain. I need to rinse out this pot, because I'm going to reuse that pot. But I don't necessarily want alum in the pot. Let me see. Actually, I think that stopper is down in there. Let me use a fork and get it up. Water's hot. There we go. Now, hot. If I shocked this, if I put cold water on this, do you know what would happen to it? All of the fibers, right now, all of the little scales on the wool yarn have opened up, and they're nice and happy in the hot water. If I put them into cold water right immediately, it would, you know what happens if you jump into a cold pool or if you take a cold shower? What a shock it is. Well, the same thing with this. You do not want that to have cold water running on it. So I'm going to move this back into this pan just for a second. Turn on my hot water. This hot water is scalding hot. It's about 140 degrees or so. I've actually scalded chickens under my hot water. So put this back in the hot water and it'll be fine. But not cold water. Cold water would make it felt. It would make it all... You've all had that happen, I suppose. You take a wool something, wool socks or wool sweater, wool blanket, and wash it and have it, say, a hot water wash and a cold water rinse. You know what happens? It shrinks. Well, we don't want that to happen, so I rinsed it with hot water. I'm going to rinse out the pot and start it with hot water again. Just rinsing it out, pouring it off, and putting more hot water in it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to steep the goldenrod flowers in this hot water over a low heat until the color comes out of them. We're extracting the color from the goldenrod flowers. And I've had my flowers in my refrigerator for a couple of days because I wasn't ready to do them when I picked them. The heat is back on under that pot. I'm looking for more of a greenish yellow, not a yellow-green, but a green-yellow. If that makes sense. So I'm not really looking for chartreuse. I'm looking for a yellow that has a green tinge. And I've had that happen before when I used flowers that were just a little bit older. But these are the fresh ones. And I'm putting flowers. I'm going to leave the leaves out. Let me get something and clip those leaves off. I've got my clippers. And I'm just gonna, that sounds funny, doesn't it? I guess we all say that. Clip those off and just put the flowers in there. I'll just continue doing that. And that's all there is to it until it comes to a simmer. And I'll just let it simmer for a few hours until we've extracted the color from it, the pigment from this. That's all we're going to do. I want to show you, because it has just begun to simmer. Let me show you what this is doing already. Can you see? I don't know. Can you see the color of the water? It's already got it has a yellow tinge to it. Let's see. You can see that steam rising. It's hard to tell, but it does. Let me move the camera a little bit. Maybe you can see better. There you go. It's got a yellow tinge to it already. I want it to get a lot more yellow than that, so I'm just going to let this simmer for a couple of hours. That'll extract the pigment from these flowers. We're making goldenrod tea. Actually, a goldenrod tea would not be a bad thing. It would be healthy. Goldenrod is a valuable medicinal herb. And so if you didn't use it to dye something, you could use it to drink. Let me set the timer for a couple of hours and start it. Alright, y'all, here's the magic time. Take the top off. Now, the next thing to do is to get the goldenrod out of the water. And I'm going to use, this is something, it's used in Asian cooking. I think it's called a spider. But I found it really, really, really handy. My mother had it, and I inherited it from her after she passed away. And I haven't used it in Asian cooking, but I've used it for this kind of thing a lot. So just dip in, and it'll a lot of stuff. It's really, really good for this. So I'm going to drip this in here, and then just put this in this casserole dish. Yeah, we're having goldenrod for dinner, right? No, I'm just using this just until I can get this out of here. And I'm going to put it in the compost. And there may still be a little bit of bits in here, but you know, it's all just vegetable and it'll wash right out. I don't care if it gets on my yarn or not. A few pieces like that are left in here. Not much, a little bit. A little bit more. And I see some more in there, but you know, I may use something else if I have something, another utensil. Let me get that out of the way. No, I'm going to leave that because I'll use that to get the yarn out. I have that. And let me dip in here. Yeah, I can get some more out. See, there's not much left. See that? Really just little pieces. And I don't care if that gets into the yarn. It's not a big deal. Okay. So let me show you what color this is. See the color? It's a golden yellow. Look at that. Look at that gorgeous color. I'm just going to use my hands. This yarn is cooled. Now I told you warned about going from hot water into cold water, and that'll make your wool shrink. However, it's perfectly okay to go from the cool or the cold into the hot. So this is room temperature at this point, right over here on the stove. And I'm going to put this in the water and get it in there pretty quickly because that color is going to start taking immediately. If I let it stay in there and just dribbled it, no, dribbled is not the right word, but lowered it very slowly and carefully into this dye, part of it would be darker than the other. Now can you see the color? Let me look at this. Look at this. How long did that take? Just a few seconds, and that's about the color that I want it to be. Maybe a little bit darker, but not much. Leave it in there just a little bit longer. You know, there is still a lot of dye in here. And I'm thinking about saving it. I can reuse it. That's a little bit darker. See, that's all it took. You see the color? I don't know if you can, it may be a little bright. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it very well. But it is, put it next to something white. See the difference? This is pretty yellow. And that's nice. That's exactly what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in this colander. There's a colander right here that it goes in. Whoops. And back in the colander like that. Just let it drain. Put this, I'm actually going to put this, move it, I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm just letting it drain into that. And get some hot water to rinse it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to empty this and then put this in my sink and put some hot water in it, because I do not want to go from hot into cold, because that'll make this shrink. Never, ever, ever, if you're working with wool, never, ever go from hot to cold. It's okay to go from cold to hot, but not the other way around. It will shrink every time and you'll be sorry. So let me go. This is drained pretty well. I'm going to take it over to my sink. I may end up having to mop my floor, but I'm going to take it over to my sink. Put it in the sink. Then take this and I'm going to dump this into my compost bucket. We'll run some hot water. I don't know if you can see how hot this water is. Okay, hot. I'm going to put this down in there. That's hot too, but it's not going to hurt anything because we're going from hot to hot. Can you see how hot that water is? Do you see the steam? I don't mind it being that hot. If I had children in the house, no way I would have the water that hot. You know, I think all I'm getting at this point is just a reflection of the yarn in this, and the water itself looks like it's not colored. I take it out, I'm not seeing any yellow in the water. Now what I'm going to do is just let this cool to room temperature, and then we'll wring out the water and hang it to dry. And that's all there is to it. I'll show you when it's dry. So that's it, y'all. That's all you have to do. That's how easy it is to dye something using a natural material. Now it's that easy to dye using an acid dye too, which is a toxic dye. But I was showing you how to do it with goldenrod, and you can use the same process with lots and lots of natural materials. But this is just one of them. Have fun with it. It's so much fun. I just love it. And then to be able to actually take this yarn and to make something with it is even more fun. This is not room temperature, but it's cooled down enough that I can touch it without it burning me. So I've already squeezed out a little bit of water, but I wanted to show you what you do. Never, ever, 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 ever twist and wring. That's a no-no. What you do instead is just squeeze it on itself, wrap it until you can hold it in your hand like so, and just squeeze. You just want to squeeze the water out of it as much as you can. Just squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Then after that, I'll show you what you do. So I'm using a towel. See, just a white towel or any color towel you have. I'm doubling it because the yarn isn't very big. Just like so. See, since I had it tied up, you can work with it without it being tangled. You see that? So I'm just going to put the yarn on here like so, and then fold it back on itself like that. And then roll it in the towel. You may have done this before with a sweater. And then what I'm going to do, put this on the floor. Can you see it there? And this is what I'm doing. And that's it. Just put this back up on the counter. So that's about as dry as you can get it. And now, I'm just going to take it and hang it up. I'll take it into my bathroom and hang it over my shower rod. And if it were a nice sunny day, I would do it outside. It's just barely damp. Hardly any water in it at all, so it shouldn't take too long. That's it. That is how to dye with goldenrod. And it is so super simple. The actual dyeing process took just seconds. And depending on how dark you wanted the fiber to be, I could have left it in there longer, and it would have taken longer, and it would have been darker when I finished. But this color is wonderful. Look at the color of that. It's just a beautiful bright yellow, and that's what I was looking for. The yarn that I have in my hand right here are from the same company, and they sell it as yellow. This color is called cornmeal, and this color is turmeric. And look at these compared to the yarn that I just dyed. There's the one that I just dyed. I'll put that in the middle. Here's the cornmeal, and there's the turmeric. I cannot find a color like this in this brand of yarn. They have some that's a brighter yellow, but they don't have a color this color, so that's why I wanted to dye it myself. So this is the color yellow that I got, and that's the color that I wanted. And if you notice, it's just a pure clear yellow. I was hoping to have a little bit more of a green cast to it, but I guess compared to this cornmeal, it is a little greener. I'm happy with that. That's going to be beautiful with a blue. In fact, let's go get a blue. Let me get a blue and see what it's going to look like. Those are beautiful together, and that's why I wanted this clear yellow. I like that better than this. Even though that still looks nice, I like this better. And you can do that too. It's the next day, and I thought you might want to see what this yarn looks like. I couldn't find a solid white surface for you to compare it to, so I put it on a plate. So we're going to change out this bowl, and we can put this in the bowl, and now you can see. That's kind of pretty too, isn't it? So what is it with me and pretty? Okay, yes, it is pretty. I like it. So let's zoom in and let you look at it a little bit better. And there it is. It's really nice. And there's the nice white bowl, and you can see, you can compare the difference in the color. But let me wind it up for you, show you how we do that. Don't know if you've ever seen anybody do that or not. So you take the yarn and take it like that and just twist. Twist. You can get the idea that we're twisting. So I'm twisting this way, and I'm twisting with this hand also, and it twists up, and then you just put it together. I'll pull it like that, and it makes a twist, and then at the end just loop it together like that. And there you go. That's it. That's how easy it is. Don't make something more complicated than it has to be. So there's my skein of yarn, and so I took it from a ball, I put it into a skein like this, I wet it, I mordanted it, and then I dyed it, and the dyeing itself just took seconds, probably less than a minute. Then you had to go through the rinsing stages and all of that and drying. But overall, it's a really simple process. It's just one of those things that's hurry up and wait. Get this solution ready and let it simmer for a little bit. Get another solution ready. Let it simmer for a little bit. And, you know, that's all there is to it. It's nothing. It's as simple as anything that you can possibly do. And I hope you try it yourself. It's so much fun. So bye, y'all. See you next time with something else.